In the vast reaches of space, many different worlds came together to form the Galactic Council. There were thousands of species, each with their own language, traditions, and strengths. Most members had joined peacefully, learning from each other and sharing new ideas. But not long ago, the humans of Earth had joined, and they were still new to this grand gathering. Lavra Turner stood in front of the great window of the council ship, looking out at the swirl of distant stars. She was a young officer in Earth's space fleet, and she had trained for years just to get this chance. Her uniform was simple, blue and gray, with the Earth patch on her shoulder. She had never imagined she would stand here among so many alien ambassadors, some tall and thin, some short and wide, some with scales, some with fur. Today Lavra felt nervous. It was her first day on the Council's main ship, and she had been chosen for a special mission. She was not alone. Lieutenant Nick Carter, her closest friend since childhood, waited nearby. Nick had a bright smile and a habit of tapping his foot when he was excited. He had always wanted to see the stars, and now he was here with Lavra, representing their home. A voice spoke in Laura's earpiece, translating the words of the council speaker. The council chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of species. The speaker was a tall being with a soft blue glow and wide, calm eyes. The council spoke of a new danger. Far away, on the edge of known space, an old enemy had awakened. They called themselves the Zaru. Nobody had seen them for hundreds of years, but the last time they appeared, they destroyed many worlds before vanishing. Again, the council explained the situation. The Zaru had already attacked 2 smaller colonies. Many lives were lost. Now the council was gathering a task force made up of the best soldiers from every world. Each species would send their finest men and women. Humans, though new to the council, had offered to send a small group. Lavra and Nick were among the chosen. When Lavra heard this, she felt both proud and afraid. She knew this was an honor, but she also knew it would be dangerous. She glanced at Nick, who grinned and whispered, "We'll show them what humans can do." Lavra smiled back, feeling her nerves settle a little. Nick always found a way to make things seem better. The next day, Lavra and Nick met the rest of the team. There was a tall, bird-like commander from a world called Keisha. His name was Tarek, and his feathers shone with red and gold. A gentle healer named Maya came from a world of peaceful forests. Her skin was green and smooth, her eyes large and gentle. A young engineer named Sam was the only other human on the team, and he quickly became friends with Lavra and Nick. The task force had one job: travel to the edge of council space and find out what the Zaru wanted. They were given a small but powerful ship designed to carry many different species. Lavra noticed that everything on the ship was adjustable, from the seats to the beds, to fit all the different shapes and sizes. The first days were filled with training. Each team member showed their skills. Lavra was a careful planner, and she was good at making decisions under pressure. Nick was brave and quick, always coming up with clever solutions when things went wrong. Tarek, the bird commander, taught them how to use special council weapons. Maya, the healer, explained how she could heal wounds with her hands and with special medicine from her home. Sam, the human engineer, worked hard to make sure the ship ran smoothly. At first, Lavra worried that the others might not trust the humans. She knew that humans were still new, and some of the other species looked at her with curiosity or even doubt. But as the days passed, she saw that everyone was working together. They learned from each other, laughed at each other's jokes, and shared stories about their worlds. One night, Lavra sat with Maya and Tarek in the small dining hall. Maya told them about her home, where people lived in houses built in trees and sang songs to the plants. Tarek explained how his people learned to fly as children and spent their lives in the sky. Lavra told them about Earth, about mountains and oceans, about music and city lights. Nick joined them and talked about human games. He explained soccer, making the others laugh with his wild hand gestures. Even Tarek, who was very serious, smiled and asked questions. For the first time, Lavra felt truly welcome. After a week, they reached the edge of council space. The stars here were dim, and the ship felt small and quiet. The Zaru had not been seen, but the Council's warning was clear. Be ready for anything. Lavra led her team in a careful scan of the nearby planets, looking for any sign of danger. One night, as Lavra checked the ship's sensors, she heard a quiet alarm. She called Nick and Sam to the control room. The sensors showed a strange signal not far from their position. It was not a Council ship, and it moved in a way that seemed wrong. Lavra felt her heart pound. Could this be the Zaru? She called the rest of the team. Tarek came quickly, standing tall and alert. Maya arrived, calm but ready. Lavra explained the situation, her voice steady even though her hands shook. Nick watched the sensors, his face serious. They're coming closer, he said softly. Lavra took a deep breath. She remembered her training. Everyone to your stations, she said. We need to be ready. The team moved fast. Tarek took the weapons station, Maya prepared the medbay, and Sam checked the engines. Lavra and Nick stayed in the control room, watching the strange ship on the screen as it drew closer and closer. In that moment, Lavra felt both fear and excitement. This was what she had trained for. She was ready to face the unknown with her friends beside her. The humans were new to this great council, but Lavra knew they would not back down. Not today. The strange ship moved closer and closer. Its lights were dark red, and its shape was sharp and strange, not like any council ship. Lavra felt her hands sweating as she watched the screen. Nick sat next to her, checking the scanners every few seconds. Tarek spoke through the ship's radio, his voice calm but firm. He reminded everyone to stay ready and not to fire unless they had no choice. Sam, the engineer, worked at the controls to keep the ship moving slowly. He whispered to Lavra that he was ready to push the engines if they needed to run away. Maya stood by in the medbay, getting her tools and medicines ready, just in case someone got hurt. The unknown ship stopped a short distance away. For a few moments, nothing happened. The team waited in silence. Then a message appeared on their screen. It was not in any known language. The sounds were harsh and metallic. Their computer tried to translate, but only a few words made sense. Lavra could see the words leave and danger. Tarek tried to answer using the Council's universal language. He spoke slowly, hoping the message would make sense. He told them they were a peaceful team and wanted to talk. There was no reply for a long minute. Then the other ship sent another message, this time even shorter. Only 2 words came through clearly. Go away. Lavra felt her heart beat faster. She turned to Nick. What should we do? She asked. Nick looked at the screen, thinking hard. They don't want us here, he said quietly. But if we leave, we don't learn anything. Maybe we should wait, or try to talk again. Sam nodded, agreeing with Nick. Tarek thought for a moment. His eyes sharp. We stay, we watch, we do not attack. We see what they do next. Lavra gave the order. The team waited, tense but ready. For the next hour, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the strange ship turned and flew away. The team let out a breath of relief, but Lavra felt uneasy. She wondered if this was just the beginning. The next day, the team looked for signs of the Zaru on the nearby planet. Sam flew the ship in a careful orbit while Tarek and Nick scanned the surface. Maya watched the life signs on her monitor. They saw broken buildings and scorched ground. It looked like there had been a battle, but now the planet was quiet and empty. Lavrai led the team in a shuttle down to the planet's surface. The air was cold and the sky was gray. The ruins were silent, with broken machines and strange marks on the ground. Nick picked up a small piece of metal, turning it over in his hands. This is not council tech, he said. Maybe it's Zaru. Tarek studied the marks on the ground. These are signs of weapons, but they are not ours. The Zaru have returned. The team searched the area for clues. Maya found traces of strange energy in the air, a sign that the Zaru weapon had been used here. Sam found an old council beacon, broken but still showing a record of the last messages sent from the planet. Lavra read the final message. Enemy. Ships landing. They are not stopping. Please help. Lavra felt sad as she read it. She knew that the people on this planet had called for help, but help had not come in time. That night, back on the ship, the team sat together, thinking about what they had seen. Lavra spoke first. "We need to warn the council. The Zaru are here. We need help," Tarek agreed, but he also had a warning. "We must be careful. The Zaru are strong. They do not think like us. They do not talk. They only destroy." Nick said, "We need a plan. If we just wait for help, the Zaru could attack more worlds. We have to find out where they are going next." Sam looked up, hope in his eyes. "We have their signal. Maybe we can track them," Lavra agreed. She told everyone to get some rest. Tomorrow they would try to follow the signal from the strange ship and find out where the Zaru were hiding. The next morning, the team gathered in the control room. Sam used the computer to follow the last direction of the Zaru ship. The trail led them to a small moon, hidden behind a ring of ice and rock. The team watched the screen as they moved closer. There were signs of energy, ships moving in and out, and many strange signals. Lavra knew they had found something important. Tarek said, "This is a base. The Zaru are here." Lavra made a decision. "We need to get closer. We need to see what they are planning." Nick nodded. "Let's go." The team got ready. Lavra and Nick put on their suits. Tarek and Maya joined them, carrying small scanners and tools. Sam stayed on the ship to watch the screens and keep them safe. The shuttle flew silently over the icy moon. Lavra felt the cold through her suit, and her breath sounded loud in her helmet. They landed near a cave with strange lights inside. The team moved quietly, following the signals. Inside the cave, they saw Zaru machines and strange, shining weapons. There were shadows moving tall, thin shapes with eyes that glowed in the dark. Lavra watched in silence, trying not to move. The team recorded everything they saw. Nick took pictures, Maya collected samples of the strange energy, and Tarek drew a map of the base. Suddenly, one of the Zaru noticed them. An alarm began to ring, a loud and terrible sound. Lavra shouted, "Run!" The team rushed back to the shuttle. Lavra helped Maya, who slipped on the icy ground. Nick covered their backs, using his flashlight to confuse the chasing Zaru. Tarek ran ahead, opening the shuttle door. They climbed in, and Sam lifted the shuttle into space as fast as he could. The Zaru ships followed, firing strange weapons. The team dodged and weaved, flying fast and low, until finally the Zaru ships gave up the chase. Back on their main ship, the team was tired, but safe. Lavra looked at her friends. She felt proud. They had faced the Zaru and learned much. Now they had proof to show the council, but Lavra knew this was only the start. The Zaru were strong and dangerous. The humans and their friends would need all their courage and cleverness for what was coming next. The main ship was quiet after the escape from the Zaru base. Lavra sat in her chair, thinking about what they had seen. She knew their mission had become more dangerous. The Zaru were not only back, they were planning something big. Nick sat beside her, tired but still alert. Tarek checked the scans for signs of more Zaru ships. Maya worked in the lab, studying the strange samples they brought back from the moon. Sam spoke through the speakers from the engine room. "The engines are ready. We can move if we need to." His voice was calm, but Lavra could hear a small shake in it. Everyone felt the weight of what had happened. Lavra decided they could not go back to the council yet. They needed more proof, more information. She called the team together in the meeting room. The room was small, with a round table and chairs for each species. Lights glowed softly on the walls, making everyone's faces look pale. Lavra started to speak. "We saw the Zaru building weapons. They are getting ready for war. The council needs to know, but we must show them real proof. We need to learn more, even if it is dangerous." Nick nodded. "If we just run away, the Zaru could move their base or hide again. We have to stay and watch them." Tarek spread out the map he made. He pointed to a part of the moon they had not explored. "There is another area with more energy signals. If we get closer, we might learn what the Zaru are planning." Maya looked worried, but she said, "I will come with you. If someone gets hurt, I can help." Sam said, "I will keep the ship ready. If there is trouble, I can come and get you fast." The team made a plan. They would return to the moon at night, when the Zaru machines were less active. They would hide and watch, then take more pictures and samples. Lavra felt nervous, but she trusted her friends. That night, they prepared quietly. Lavra checked her suit and her scanner. Nick packed a small bag with tools. Tarek carried his map and a light. Maya took a small medical kit. Sam gave them a small radio to call for help. The shuttle landed far from the Zaru base behind a hill of ice. The team walked slowly, hiding behind rocks and snow. The night was cold and silent, and every step sounded loud in Laura's ears. They reached a cave that looked down over the Zaru base. Lavra used her scanner to watch the Zaru. There were more ships now, bigger than before. The Zaru moved in groups, carrying strange boxes and machines. Lavra saw that they were building something huge in the center of the base. It looked like a weapon. Nick whispered, "Look at that. That's not just a normal gun. That could destroy a whole city." Tarek took pictures, moving his camera slowly so the Zaru would not see the light. Maya looked through her scanner and saw energy readings higher than anything she had seen before. Lavra felt a chill. The Zaru were building a weapon to destroy whole planets. She knew they could not wait any longer. They had to warn the council now. Suddenly a loud sound echoed in the cave. Laura's heart jumped. She turned and saw a small Zaru scout, its eyes glowing in the dark. The scout screamed, a high sharp sound, and ran toward the base. Lavra grabbed her radio and whispered, "Sam, get the shuttle ready. We've been seen." The team ran back through the ice and rocks. Nick helped Maya, who slipped again. Tarek turned and fired his small light weapon, scaring away another. "Scout!" The Zaru alarm began to ring all through the base. Bright lights flashed in the sky. Sam's voice came through the radio. "I see you. I'm coming closer. Run to the hill." Lavra and her team reached the hill just as the shuttle landed. The door opened and Sam waved them in. The Zaru ships flew after them, firing strange blue beams. Sam lifted the shuttle into the sky, turning fast to dodge the beams. Lavra looked back and saw the Zaru weapon charging with bright white light. "Go faster!" she yelled. Sam pushed the engines as hard as he could. The shuttle shook, but they flew higher and higher, away from the moon. A giant flash lit up the sky as the Zaru weapon fired. The beam missed them, hitting a rock far away and turning it into dust. Finally, they reached the main ship. Everyone jumped out of the shuttle, breathing hard. Sam checked the engines for damage. Maya checked everyone for injuries. Nick put the pictures and scans into the ship's computer. Lavra called the council. She sent the pictures, videos, and energy scans. She spoke to the council leaders, telling them everything they had seen. The council listened in silence. The council leader, a wise old being named Riluk, spoke. "Your proof is strong. The Zaru are building a planet killer. You must leave at once. We will send ships to stop them." But Lavra was not finished. "We know the Zaru. If we leave now, they will move their weapon. They might even use it before the council ships can arrive." Nick added, "We can help. Humans are good at fighting. We think differently. Let us help stop the Zaru." Rylok hesitated. "The council does not want more war, but your team is brave." "We will listen." Lavra waited as the council talked. She felt scared, but also proud. Her team had done something important. They had faced danger and found the truth. After a long time, the council answered, "Stay hidden. Watch the Zaru. When our ships arrive, help them, but do not attack alone." "The galaxy cannot risk losing you," Lavra agreed. She looked at her friends. They were tired, but their eyes were bright. With hope, they would not give up. As the ship floated above the quiet moon, Lavra knew this was only the beginning. The Zaru would not stop easily. The humans and their friends would need all their courage, skill, and clever ideas. But Lavra was ready to fight for the galaxy. She was not alone. She had her team, and together they would stand against the darkness. The team waited in silence as their ship drifted above the moon. Lavra did not sleep. She sat in the control room, watching the dark sky and thinking about the Zaru weapon. She worried about what would happen if the council ships did not arrive in time. Nick joined her, carrying 2 cups of hot tea from the small kitchen. Nick sat next to Lavra. "You should rest," he said, handing her a cup. Lavra took a sip and shook her head. "I can't sleep. What if the Zaru finish their weapon?" "What if we are too late?" Nick nodded. "I feel the same. But we have done everything we can. Now we just have to wait for the council." Hours passed slowly. The others tried to rest, but the worry made it hard. Tarek checked the scanners every hour. Maya prepared more medical supplies, her hands shaking as she worked. Sam fixed a small problem with the engines and then joined Lavra and Nick in the control room. Soon the council ships appeared on the screen. There were 5 of them, each bigger than Laura's ship. The lead ship sent a message. It was Commander Brandt, a strong woman with short brown hair and a serious face. She thanked Laura's team for their bravery and asked for a full report. Lavra and Nick told the council ships everything they had learned. Tarek showed the map he had made. Mayao explained the Zaru weapon's energy. Sam sent the pictures and videos of the base. Commander Brandt listened carefully. She looked worried. "We will attack at sunrise. Your team must stay safe, but we may need your help." The team got ready. Lavra gave everyone a job. Nick would help in the control room. Tarek and Maya would watch the scanners for signs of the Zaru. Sam would make sure the engines were ready for a quick escape if needed. The sun rose slowly over the icy moon. The council ships moved into place, hiding behind large rocks and cliffs. Lavra watched the screens, feeling her heart beat faster. Suddenly, the Zaru ships started to move. They had seen the council ships. The sky filled with light as the battle began. The council ships fired bright energy beams. The Zaru ships answered with their blue weapons. Loud alarms rang inside Laura's ship as small pieces of space rock hit the shields. Sam shouted, "Shields holding, but they can't take much more." Lavra kept watching the Zaru base. She saw the Zaru leaders trying to move the planet killer weapon. "They're going to fire." Lavra yelled. Commander Brandt called Lavra on the radio. "Can your team get inside the base and stop them?" "Our ships are too big to land." Lavra looked at her friends. She felt scared, but she knew what she had to do. "We can do it." "We will go now." Nick nodded and got the shuttle ready. Tarek brought his map. Maya carried her medical kit. Sam checked the engines and told Lavra he would keep the ship safe. The team flew the shuttle down to the moon's surface. The air was full of smoke and dust from the battle above. Lavra led her team through the ice and rocks, moving as quickly as they could. They reached the cave where they had hidden before. Inside the base, the Zaru were busy. Machines whirred and beeped. Lavra saw the planet killer weapon charging with bright white light. 2 Zaru guards stood in front of the control room. Nick whispered, "We need a distraction." Tarek picked up a small rock and threw it across the cave. It made a loud noise. The guards ran to check, and Laura's team slipped into the control room. Lavra looked at the control panel. The buttons and screens were strange, but she saw one button glowing red. She guessed that was the firing button. Nick and Tarek quickly blocked the door with a heavy box. Maya checked the power readings. Sam spoke over the radio. "Hurry! More Zaru ships are coming." Lavra told Maya to find a way to stop the weapon. Maya found a cable behind the control panel. "If I cut this, the weapon will stop," she said. Nick nodded. "Do it now." Maya used a small tool from her kit and cut the cable. The weapon's light faded and the noise stopped. The whole base shook as alarms rang out. The Zaru knew something was wrong. Lavra and her team ran back to the shuttle as fast as they could. The guards chased them, firing blue beams. Nick turned and fired back with his light weapon, slowing them down. Tarek helped Maya climb into the shuttle. Lavra jumped in last and shut the door. Sam started the engines and lifted the shuttle off the ground. Zaru ships followed, but the council ships in the sky fired at them, giving Sam a clear path to escape. As they flew back to their main ship, Lavra looked out the window. The Zaru base exploded in a ball of fire. The council ships had hit the weapon with a final shot. The danger was gone. Back on the main ship, Commander Brandt called Lavra. "You did it. You stopped the weapon. The council thanks you." Lavra felt relief and pride. Her team hugged each other, laughing and crying at the same time. Even Tarek, who was usually so serious, smiled. After the battle, the council held a meeting on their lead ship. Lavra and her team joined the other commanders. Rilak, the council leader, spoke to everyone. The Zaru weapon is destroyed, but the fight is not over. We must remain strong and work together. Lavra looked at her friends. She knew their mission had changed them. They had faced fear, danger, and loss, but they had not given up as the meeting ended. Rilak spoke directly to Lavra and her team. You have shown courage and hope, but some on the council worry about humans. You think in ways that others do? Not. We must discuss what this means for the future. Lavra did not know what would happen next, but she felt strong. She knew her team had done what was right, even when it was hard. The war with the Zaru was not over, but Lavra was ready. She was not afraid of what was coming next. She would keep fighting for her friends and for the galaxy. After the battle, things changed on the council's main ship. Lavra and her team became famous almost overnight. Other soldiers and officers from many worlds wanted to meet them. Some shook their hands and thanked them. Some just stared and whispered when Lavra or Nick walked past. Lavra tried to act normal, but she felt the difference every day. At breakfast, Maya would tell funny stories to help everyone laugh. Tarek spent his time practicing with the ship's maps, but Lavra noticed he was quieter than before. Sam got busy with repairs, fixing small problems and upgrading the engines even when he did not have to. One day, the council sent a message to Lavra. The team was ordered to join a special meeting. They were told to bring all their records and reports from the mission. Lavra felt her stomach twist as she read the order. She wondered if they had done something wrong. Nick tried to help. Don't worry, we saved the council. Maybe they just want to thank us. Lavra nodded, but she was not sure. The meeting was held in a big round room with high windows. There were council leaders from many worlds sitting at a long table. Laura's team stood together in the middle. Rilek, the council leader, sat at the center. Commander Brent was there too, along with many other famous officers. Rilek spoke first. You have done something great for the galaxy. The Zaru weapon is destroyed because of your team. We thank you. The room was quiet as Rilek's words were translated for everyone. Commander Brant looked serious. But there are problems. We have reports that your team broke council rules. You entered an enemy base without approval. You took risks that could have destroyed your ship. You used weapons that were not given by the council. Some say you did not follow orders. Lavra felt her heart beat faster. She looked at Nick and the others. She thought about what to say. She knew what they did was not always by the book. But she also knew it was the only way to stop the Zaru. Rilek looked at Lavra. Tell us why you did these things. Lavra took a deep breath. She tried to use simple words so everyone would understand. We saw that the Zaru were building a weapon. If we waited for orders, it would be too late. We had to act. We tried to keep everyone safe, but we also had to stop the weapon. We did not want to break rules. We just did what we thought was right. Nick spoke next. Humans have a saying sometimes you have to think outside the box. The Zaru did not fight like the council expects. They are different. We had to be different too, or we would lose. Tarek spoke up, his voice strong. I am not human, but I saw their courage. They saved us all. Maya added softly, if we did not take a chance, the Zaru would have destroyed whole worlds. I am proud of what we did. There was a long silence as the council members talked in low voices. Some looked angry, some looked thoughtful. Lavra waited, her hands shaking. She wondered if she and her friends would be punished. Finally, Rilek spoke again. The council sees your courage, but we also see the danger. Humans are new to the council. You think differently. You take risks. This can be good, but it can also be dangerous. Other species follow rules for a reason. Commander Brant said, we must decide what this means. Should humans be allowed to join galactic battles, or are you too unpredictable? A tall alien from a water world spoke. Humans are strong, but they do not respect council law. I vote to ban them from fighting. A short old council member with gray fur shook her head. Without humans, we would have lost. We need their ideas. The debate went on for a long time. Lavra felt tired. As she listened, she knew her team had done something special, but she wondered if it would cost them everything. At last, the council voted. The leader stood and spoke. Humans will not be punished. You saved us. But we are afraid of what could happen if all humans fought in the wars. Your ways are too different. We will discuss a ban on human soldiers in future galactic battles. Lavra felt both relief and pain. They would not be punished, but they might not be trusted again. When the meeting ended, Lavra and her team walked back to their ship. Nick was quiet. Tarek walked beside Maya, speaking in soft tones. Sam joined Lavra at the window, looking out at the stars. Nick spoke at last. Did we do the right thing, Lavra? Lavra nodded. We saved lives. We did what we had to do. Even if the council doesn't understand, we know the truth. Maya smiled gently. We are a team. No matter what happens, I am glad I met you all, Tarek agreed. I would fight beside you again, any day. The next day, Lavra sent a message. To Earth, she told her family and friends what had happened. She said she was proud to be human, even if others did not always understand. Over the next week, the news spread. Stories about Lavra and her team were told all across the galaxy. Some worlds cheered for the humans. Others worried that humans were too wild, too willing to take risks. On the last night before the council's decision, Lavra sat with her friends, looking at the stars. She felt both sad and hopeful. She did not know what would come next. But she knew one thing. Humans had shown the galaxy what they could do. They were brave, clever, and willing to do what was needed, even if it meant breaking the rules. As she watched the stars, Lavra made a promise to herself. She would never give up. No matter what the council decided, she would always stand up for what was right. And she knew her friends would do the same. The future was uncertain, but Lavra was ready to face it. She was human, and that meant something special, something the galaxy would never forget. The council's decision came the next day. Lavra and her team sat together in the control room, waiting for the message. The ship was quiet. No one spoke. Even Nick, who was usually cheerful, was silent as he looked out at the stars. Maya held a small plant from her homeworld in her hands, running her fingers over the soft leaves. Sam checked the screens, though there was nothing new to see. Tarek watched Lavra, waiting for her to speak. A soft sound broke the silence. The message had arrived. Lavra pressed the button, and the council leader's face appeared on the screen. Relax's voice was gentle but strong. The council has decided. From this day, humans will not be allowed to fight in galactic battles. You are brave, but you are too unpredictable. You act alone without always waiting for orders. This can be dangerous for the whole galaxy. Lavra listened, feeling a mix of sadness and pride. Relic continued. You and your team will return to Earth. You will not be punished. In fact, you will be remembered for your courage. But the council will not call on humans to fight again. Nick let out a long breath. He looked at Lavra. Well, that's it. We're banned. Are you okay? Lavra nodded slowly. I'm sad, but I understand. They are afraid of what humans can do. Tarek spoke. You saved us all. My people will never forget what you did. Someday the council may change its mind. Maya added, you have taught us all to be brave. The galaxy is safer because of you, Sam tried to smile. At least we get to go home. Lavra looked at her friends. She saw pride in their eyes. They had done their best, and even if they were banned, their story would not be forgotten. The ship began its long journey back to Earth. As they traveled, Lavra thought about all that had happened. She remembered the day she first saw the council's main ship, how nervous she had been, and how excited Nick was to explore the stars. She remembered the battles with the Zaru, the fear in her heart, and the courage her team showed again and again. News of the ban spread quickly across the galaxy. On some worlds, people were angry. On others, they cheered for the humans. Many council members sent messages to Lavra and her team, thanking them for their bravery. Some asked questions about Earth, wanting to learn more about humans. One day, As they neared Earth, Lavar received a message from a young alien student. The message said, "You are my hero. I want to be brave like you." Lavar read the message out loud and her friends smiled. Even though they could not fight in galactic wars, they had inspired many people across the stars. When the ship finally arrived at Earth, they saw the blue planet shining below. Lavar felt tears in her eyes. She had missed her home more than she realized. The ship landed quietly in a green field, and people from Earth came to welcome them home. Laura's family was waiting. Her parents hugged her tightly. Nick's sister ran up and jumped into his arms. Sam's mother brought him a big plate of cookies, and Maya was given flowers from a garden. Even Tarek, who had no family on Earth, was welcomed by Laura's family. And he smiled for the first time in days. That night, Lavra and her team sat around a fire under the stars. The air was warm and the sky was clear. Lavra looked up at the stars and wondered what would happen next in the galaxy. She knew that the Council's ban would not last forever. People would remember what humans had done. Maybe one day the Council would call on humans again. Nick passed around cups of tea. He said, "We may be banned, but we're still a team. We can help in other ways. There are always problems to solve, even here on Earth." Sam agreed. "We can build better ships. We can teach others what we learned." Maya added, "We can share our story. We can teach courage and hope." Tarek said quietly, "You humans are strange, but you are also special. I am glad I fought beside you." Lavra smiled at her friends. She felt proud of what they had done. They had not only saved the galaxy from the Zaru, but they had also shown everyone what it meant to be human. They were brave, clever, and sometimes even reckless. But they had never given up, no matter how hard things became. Over the next weeks, Lavra and her friends traveled to many places on Earth. They gave talks at schools and met with leaders. Children wanted to know about the stars. Some asked if they were sad to be banned. Lavra always answered with a smile. "Sometimes being different makes others afraid, but it can also be a strength. We showed the galaxy what humans can do. That's something to be proud of." As time passed, Lavra noticed that people on Earth looked at the stars with new eyes. They wondered what other adventures waited for them out there. Some young people dreamed of joining the Council, even if they could not fight. Others wrote stories and painted pictures of brave humans and strange new friends from other worlds. One evening, Lavra walked alone under the stars. She remembered the fear and excitement of the mission. She missed her friends who had returned to their own worlds, but she knew they would always be connected by their story. Suddenly, a small ship landed nearby. The door opened and Tarek stepped out. He smiled and handed Lavra a small gift, a crystal from his homeworld. "For you," he said. "To remember that even the Council cannot stop real friendship." Lavra hugged her friend. She knew that even if humans were banned from war, they would never be forgotten. Their courage had changed the galaxy forever, and as Lavra looked up at the stars, she felt hope. Maybe one day the Council would understand. Maybe one day humans would return to help the galaxy again. But for now, she was happy to be home, proud of her team, and ready for whatever came. Next.